Hi, I'm Tim Stokes, and I'm talking with Chris Scooter of Interact Global. How are you today, Chris?
I'm well, Tim. Yourself?
I am excellent. Chris, I want to revisit the topic of EQ and how that first initiated when we first sat down and had a bit of a chat about this whole topic. It's something that I was fascinated by a long time ago. Like over 20 years ago, I got introduced to EQ, or I found it online, did some sort of an assessment at the time. I think it was $25 to do some sort of an assessment back then. And I've been interested in it on and off over the years. And one of the things that I find is challenging is when I'm talking to a client and I say it's about personality that you want to focus on when you're hiring people. I help just about every client I work with to hire. And when I talk about personality, I mean, you want someone who's dependable, reliable, they do what they say. I call that integrity. They're good for their word. They take initiative. They self-manage over time so that it frees up you as a business owner and having to look after your staff and things like that. And I remember talking to you about attitude traits. I used to say it's one of my greatest challenges to educate my clients on what I mean by attitude, because everyone, you ask a person, what does attitude mean? Everyone's got a different definition. And I described it as they can fast learn, they are reliable, they're dependable, they're consistent with their work. And when I said to you, what do you call that? You said, that's EQ. And I was like, hallelujah. I didn't know that's what it was. Do you remember that conversation, Chris?
I do, yes, yes. Yes, Tim, emotional intelligence starts off with looking at a person's self-awareness, and the level of their EQ determines their self-awareness, which then goes over to action, and that is again in terms of how self-managed they are, and then a person's looking at how that person would react to other people and how aware of others they are, and then it's about the relationship management between individuals or an organization. And that is all measured in emotional intelligence and where it sits in terms of the norm group, in terms of whether the person is very much like everybody else or whether there is differences in the different facets. Now, interesting, in emotional intelligence, one looks at various facets, and it mostly is around the optimism, self-esteem, and emotional regulation, and also emotional expression of people. With that is also the ability of assertiveness and dealing with variety. And all those combinations are looking at how well a person's emotions are developed around those aspects. And that eventually gives us that ability to see how that person would be able to communicate in its environment.
I believe it's all about creating a team environment in a workplace. And I relate it to sport. In sport, every person has a role on the team. They have a position, title, similar to business. And it's up to the individuals to create some chemistry and to understand each other and then work with each other. And I think that's absolutely applicable to a workplace environment as well. And when you've got that awareness of other people, as you describe it, I think that helps a lot for people to start to create that chemistry, to understand each other and to build a better working relationship. Would you agree?
I would agree with you. And I think that this is where the leadership of the organization or the manager and or the owner of a business comes to play, because they're almost like a coach or a captain of a team, which needs to understand everybody's various levels of contribution in terms of their, let's call it, emotionality that comes to the team and how they pass the baton between them. So, for example, some people might be very socially aware and well developed with that. When your reliance comes to looking at those people to provide that facet in the business, then you need to know who they are. And on the other hand, as you know, need to know who are the people that can emotionally express them better than the others, and that you apply and use those people in the right roles to bring success in the business.
Yeah, it's absolutely. We'll keep this video short. We'll finish up soon, but you just touched on a very interesting topic called leadership. Business owners tend to come out of employee land, work for a company or a few companies before they go into the business for themselves, and then they hire their first employee. unfortunately, they don't get instruction books on how do I lead this person? How do I communicate with them? What's my communication structure? How do I get the best out of them? How do I lead them in their ideal way? Those sort of things are often not present, not thought of, not considered. So let's talk about that next video, Chris. Let's talk a bit about leadership and leadership styles. What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that we can start off with what a self-awareness for a leader looks like, and how do you apply your self-awareness to manage the others around you.
Sounds great, Chris. Well, thanks for joining me. I'll look forward to talking to you next video.
Thanks, Tim.